So I didn't do this on purpose, but I've got lots of socks to share with you today. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from Crochet Creations and welcome to my YouTube channel. I love to talk about all things yarn, crochet, knitting, what I'm working on, yarn adjacent things, product reviews, knit and chats. What else do I do? Vlogs, all sorts of things. So if that's something that you are interested in seeing more of, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below so you can be notified every time I post a new video. I try to post 2 times a month now. I just recently started working full-time again and I do have a toddler at home, so things are a little bit chaotic, but I have a monthly podcast episode and I try to do at least one other video throughout the month. I do have a couple of videos in the works, so make sure to follow along so that you can see what those videos are that are coming up. Today is a podcast episode. It is episode 32 of the Crochet and Knitting Podcast. I'm going to share with you all the things I've been working on, things I recently finished. I have a lot of things to share. I've got a couple new acquisitions too that I want to share with you, and also just kind of what's going on with me in my life, what things I'm reading, what things I'm watching. So let's hop right into it. Alright, so for some little bit of news, I guess, right before we get started, I am not wearing any homemade knitwear. This is a cardigan that I got from Target when I was in high school, so it's been more than 10 years. I do not know why I still have it. It still works. And this was just in my office because I'm feeling cold. It's a little bit chilly today. It's been very stormy here in Utah. It's been a good spring, not too hot, but it's been windy and little spurts of rain almost every day, which is very interesting considering we live in a desert. It's just a little bit chilly, but I have some fresh air coming in through the windows. So I've got my store-bought cardigan on that is very, very old. As far as other news that's going on with Crochet Creations, I did just start a pattern test too, actually. And I'll talk more about these patterns in my whip section because they're definitely still a work in progress. But I have 2 designs that are coming up and they will be releasing on July 1st in preparation for Sock Week, an event hosted by Knitty Natty here on YouTube, and she's also on Instagram. And my design ideas were selected to be part of the sponsors, I guess, for Sock Week, and so they are specifically promoted within Sock Week. And so I have a knit design and a crochet design, and those pattern tests just started and my testers have been working super hard. They're very thorough. They've given me tons of good tips and feedback, so I have lots of work to do on these patterns. I was really proud of the designs I came up with, and it's also been humbling having testers give me some feedback, but it's been really good. And I think that these patterns will be even more amazing once we're all done with this testing period. So I'll show those designs in a little bit so you can see them, but that is underway, so I am also very busy with that going on. And if you didn't see, the spring into summer blog hop was happening all through May and just the first couple days of June. I had a design featured in that blog hop that I designed specific for it called the Sweet Pea Small Shawl. And I mentioned it in my last podcast, but I'm mentioning this here because the blog hop is all done, so the opportunity to get the free patterns has now passed. But you can get all 33 of the patterns in a pattern bundle. So if you missed any of the days, if this is the first time you're hearing about it, if it was just too much work to try to locate the patterns every single day, I know that life gets really busy. If you want a chance to get all of those patterns in a pattern bundle, that is only $15.99. I'll leave the link down below because the link is still active for you to purchase that pattern bundle. Then you can get all the patterns. They're perfect for this transitioning period from spring into summer. And there's all sorts of big variety in crochet patterns from home decor and clothing items, garment type things, to accessories and whatnot. If that is something you're interested in, take a look at the pattern bundle down below, and then if you want to purchase that, a large portion of that pattern bundle profit goes straight to me for referring you. So that is a great way to support me in my participation in this blog hop by purchasing the pattern bundle through my link specifically. But even if you just want to take a look and see if that is something you're interested in, the link is down below for you. So thank you so much. Okay, time for finished objects. I have a lot of small things. I have something that is kind of a finished object, but not really. Like, it's still kind of a whip. that I'm a little bummed about, but we'll get to that. Right now, we're gonna talk about the things that are definitely a finished object, and I am happy to say are off my plate. I feel like I'm not centered. It's really hard to see for sure. First and foremost, we'll start with the smallest one. This is a yarn cozy by Knitty Natty. You can see the texture a little bit better. So this is a pattern by Natalie Coons, and she's designed a whole bunch of cozy patterns. I just tested the Crochet Lite mini yarn cozy. I just tested the Crochet mini light, wait, what? I just tested the Crochet mini yarn cozy light version because it was fingering weight. I did the 20-gram version and it's here somewhere, but I just tested that. The pattern just came out, and for the month of May, Natalie did a make along with her crochet and knit yarn cozies that you can make one, and not just yarn cozies, but any kind of cozy. She has like a bottle cozy and a can cozy too. So there was a cozy along. I was trying to participate. At the very end of the month, I realized that I had not cast it on yet, and so I finally did, and I finished at like 12:30 a.m. on like June 1st. So this was not eligible for the make along, but I'm glad I got to make it. I actually have another one on the needle right now, but it was really fun to be able to use up a fun yarn that I didn't necessarily see myself using in a sock anytime soon. This is just scraps from a previous sock. I got to try this cool like mock cable that was really easy. It was so nice, and just a little bit of texture. And this is the 100-gram size, so I can hold a 100-gram cake of yarn in it and kind of keep it compact and also together so that it doesn't fall apart if it's rolling around my project bag. So that was really fun. I'm really glad I got to make that. It was part of my Make 23 in 2023 goals to make a yarn cozy. So check that off the list. And I have another one on the needles already to do alternating colors. So I'll show that in just a few minutes here. So that was fun to finish that, even though I just barely missed the cutoff for the make along, but the make along actually got me to make the yarn cozy that I've been meaning to do for a while. So I'm happy about that. This yarn is from Daisy Stitch Co, and it was from a mystery bundle I purchased, so I didn't have a color name, but both of these colors, it was like it's like a really pale, like a pale, cool pink color almost as the background with a rainbow of speckles, and then it was a rainbow variegated color, and they were both in the bundle together, and they were just perfect inverses of each other, so I thought it would be fun to link them together in this pattern. What is that? Some kind of a truck or something went by. I did not even see it, but maybe a tractor. I don't know. I do live in Cowtown, as I like to say. We get to drive past little farms and some big farms too, but mostly some little farms with a few horses, a few cows on our way to drop my daughter off at daycare. So it's just a fun way to start the day, just seeing some farm animals. The next finished object I have is my All Together Now socks that I knit for my daughter. I tested this pattern for Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. Alfred, stop. Naughty cat. And I also use Daisy Stitch Co.'s mystery bundle yarns. I use these. All of those contrast colors were from the mystery bundles that I purchased from Daisy Stitch Co. like more than a year ago. This white I used was Regia, and just like the white colorway. This pattern was really fun to do. I did have to redo my second sock because my gauge was so different than my first sock. I just picked up right after the heel of my second sock and redid the foot. I did the foot while I was watching a movie, and that really made my gauge horrible. So you can still kind of see that I didn't redo the top. You can see it's still a little bit wider, but when I redid the foot, they match. So it was definitely worth it, and it's a small sock. It didn't take very long. It was just kind of a pain, and I'm glad that they're actually done. I can give them to my daughter, and she can enjoy them. I think I said in the last podcast, she loves spooky season. She loves spiders and ghosts and jack-o'-lanterns and cats and all those things. So I'm really excited for Halloween this year that we can go all out, but I think that she'll really like the color palette of these socks. My next pair of finished socks are adult, so I can put them on a sock blocker to help show what I have for you. Okay, these are my May Desert Visitor Dye Works socks. I do have two, but I only put one out to show you. Oh my gosh, I'm wanting so much. So sorry. Life of having a toddler. I'm just exhausted all the time. Toddler, chronic illness, working full time, all the things. This colorway is called Ashes by Disinterested Dye Works, and it is so cute. I love the like purples and pinks and how they all kind of blend together. You'll notice that this is marled. I held 2 strands together to make a DK weight sock because I like the look of the marling. I think it's really fun. Number 2 is they work up super fast, and I just wanted some cozy, fast knit socks. So that's what I did. I had a lot of fun making these, and I love the color palette. The last time I made a pair kind of like this was, I think, in October. And again, I just love the marling and the coziness and how quick they knit up. So I wanted to do that again. And I've been doing the monthly Disinterested Dye Works sock club is what they call it. But basically it's a challenge that you use the skein of their yarn every single month to knit a project, whether it's a pair of regular length socks, 2 pairs of shorty socks, a pair of gloves or fingerless mitts or something, or a hat. You just have to use up the majority of that skein in a singular project. And I didn't commit myself to doing every single month this year. I wanted to give myself a little bit of room to do it if I wanted to and not do it if I didn't want to. But I participated every month up until now. So that's 5 months out of 12 in the year. If I do every single month, then I get an exclusive colorway at the end of the year. And so I think subconsciously I'm committed now because I'm in my groove and I don't feel as beholden to it. At the end of last year, I definitely felt like it was a slog to get through to make sure I did my monthly thing. I only did it the second half of last year. But this year, I'm feeling much more used to the idea of like, this is a project I work on during the month. And it's been nice to have something simple on the needles that I know I can bring with me wherever I go. And it hasn't really been a problem. So I'm continuing to do that. This was May. I'll show you the yarn that I have for my June socks coming up later on in the podcast. I'm continuing to go with that. If you are participating, let me know how it's going for you. I did a hat at the very beginning of the year. I had a couple months where I did 2 pairs of shorty socks and gave 1 pair to my sister-in-law for those 2 months. Maybe like February, March and April. I think it was February and March I did the 2 pairs of shorty socks, which I really liked. Like I found myself wearing those shorty socks for myself a lot, even though they don't fit me as well as I'd like. And so I want to make more shorties, but I'm not sure what I will do yet this month because I don't have a recipient for the other shorty socks. And I don't know if I want 2 pairs of the same color of shorty socks. There's just so much sock yarn to knit that I don't know if I want more than 1 of each. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do this month for Disinterested Dye Works, but it's been a good time so far this year. Oh, I guess I didn't really mention the elephant in the room. I did cut my hair. It's doing this weird flippy thing right now that I'm not a super fan of, but I don't have the right kind of like hair tools to like fix it. So just depending on how it dries, I either get this weird flippy thing or I, like the texture a little bit more. But I needed a change for the warm weather, so I got it chopped off just a couple weeks ago. So, ta-da! Cute short hair. I like it pretty well. The first couple days were awkward in styling it. I felt like I looked like Lord Farquaad, but I've got my side part back up and I feel cuter as it is right now compared to like when I very first got it cut. So we're in a good spot with the haircut. I do like having my hair short quite frequently, but it is a little hard to control. I don't have a straightener. I don't even own a blow dryer, so it's kind of hard to style. I usually let my hair air dry, and with it shorter, I need to do more just because I don't like this flippiness. Back to our regularly scheduled program. This is the next finished object I have, and this one I finished a long time ago. I actually mentioned it in my last podcast, but I cut that section out because this pattern was a secret test and it wasn't released until June 1st. So here you go. This is the Lothlorien sock. It is by Megan Gonzalez of Nurture Knitwear. Let me show you this beautiful lace pattern that's on the front of the sock. Part of like a collaboration that Megan is doing with Brandy of Long Dog Yarns. So she designed 3 different patterns, a textured sock, a cabled sock, and a lace sock that are all inspired by Lord of the Rings and made using Lord of the Rings collection colorways from Brandy. This is the beautiful lace pattern. It was so fun to knit. And And I love this color. I used the White Wizard sock set from Brandy's One Collection to Rule Them All. And this mini that came with it is called Pippin. So, so pretty. I love it. So this was super fun to knit up. And it's been a while since I've done any lace patterns, really. Like, I've done little snippets of lace, but doing like a full-on lace pattern, it's been a while, and I really enjoyed it. It made me want to do another lace sock, like, right now. I don't have any concrete plans, though I have something in mind that I should do before the end of July. That is a lace sock that I've been meaning to do. It's called the July sock pattern. So I really want to finish it before the end of July. So maybe I should start it now to ensure that I have it ready in time. So I really enjoyed working on this pattern. It was such a pleasure to test knit. I always love testing for Megan because her patterns are so very well written and she's very communicative throughout the test. And her deadlines are always very generous, which makes it easier for me with everything I've got going on to be able to accomplish it and feel like I do a good job. And I love her aesthetic and her pattern design. She's a beast. She comes up with so many designs. She works so hard. And I feel like she needs more recognition for all the work that she does because she is a great designer. Those have been done. I started them a couple months ago. They were finished early last month. I think the deadline might have been end of April, but I've just been hanging on to them for a while. I haven't even worn them yet because I've been waiting to show them on the podcast. I really wanted to show them because now they are finally released and Megan is doing a knit along with these 3 sock patterns. So if you are interested in participating, make sure to check out her Instagram and learn more about that knit along. Now I can wear these socks and enjoy them since they've been done for so long. I'm surrounded by whips. There are like way more here than I realized. And I was feeling the need to cast something new on and I clearly don't need to. I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the biggest thing that is basically an FO. It's an FO at this moment in time, but I need to fix it. So it's still a whip. This is my oat sweater that I finished. Yay! I really want to finish it for this podcast. And it looks so good. It's really hard. This color is just this like a super warm lilac-y color, very pale pastel. And it's hard to come across. I feel like this is coming across pretty well. Usually contrasts a little bit more with my skin tone, but it's a really, really beautiful color. This is Bartok by Teeny Button. I love it. I did these lace sections on the sleeves. It fits me really well. I'm really happy with it. The only thing, I feel like the neckline's a little bit like higher than my personal style, but I feel like it still fits me well and looks pretty good, so I'm fine with that. The problem is it's a little bit too short, like a couple inches, whereas it hits me right now at my hip bone. That's just not super wearable for me with the rise of pants that I like to wear. I don't know how well you can tell. It's a raglan and the armhole depth is like a little bit deeper. So it's a nice comfy fit, even though it's not got a ton of positive ease necessarily, but it's a nice comfy fit. But that low raglan depth means that if I lift up my arms, the whole sweater goes up whoop, and it's like that tall. So it's like barely covering my bra. Like, the way that it's fitting is not very usable, especially if I lift my arms. So I need to add more length. I haven't done the sweater surgery yet. I purchased 5 skeins of this worsted weight yarn for this project, and I had 2 entire skeins left over, and I was like, wow, I have so much yarn. Maybe I will give it away or destash it or something. Like, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, wow, I have lots of yarn. But now that I know I have to add like 2 or 3 inches now to get it to a comfortable length for wear for me, because I just didn't expect it to come up so much when I moved my arms, I guess. Now that I have to do that, I caked up one of the skeins of yarn, so I have this ready to go. My plan is, because I do not want to redo that sewn bind off, or there's like, I don't know, 2.5 or 3 inches, probably like 2.5 inches of twisted rib. I don't want to redo that. So what I'm gonna do, I think, is just like cut maybe like here-ish, a couple rows away. Okay, first I'm gonna insert 2 sets of needles so that I can have like 1 row in between the 2 sets of needles, so I can kind of like protect my stitches on my hem, protect my stitches on my sweater, and I'll cut in between the two. Not like all the way across. I just like snip it and then unravel so that I have extra yarn tails to weave in, and like I have yarn for that. And then I'll join my yarn back to my body of the sweater, and I will just knit round, get the length that I need. I should probably try it on one more time to like figure out exactly how much length I want. And then I can Kitchener stitch the two sides together, weave in my extra ends, and it's all done. I've woven in my other ends already. I made this sweater because I used hand-dye yarn. I did like helical knitting in order to kind of prevent color pooling, but I want to keep my last skein intact in case I do decide to sell it or do a giveaway or something. I just think that it'd be better to keep it intact if I can. And the coloring has been really consistent, and I honestly at this moment in time I do not care enough. So what I might do is do helical knitting but with the inside and outside of this skein to kind of alternate yarns a little bit, or I might just knit with one side, and if it's blaringly obvious then I will like rip it back after knitting for like an inch or so. If it's blaringly obvious, I'll rip it back and start again alternating. But I really want to keep that last skein intact and just use this one cake in order to fix this length problem is my plan. I have not done it yet. It was finished and I really liked how it was turning out. This lace is really what sold me on the pattern in the first place, and I've wanted to make it for a while. This fits me really well, and I had a lot of fun working on this. I worked it pretty fast. I just know that as soon as I insert my needles, cut my yarn, unravel, join new yarn, like that has to be my focus project so I can just like knock it out. And I just want to move on from this, if that makes sense, and move on to something else, which is probably why I have so many whips right now, because I'm trying to distract myself from the problem that needs to be fixed. And this honestly won't take that long. I just kind of don't want to think about it. I should just like get it started. It's really not that hard. So that's my biggest whip that's still in progress. Yeah, a finished object that's still a work in progress. My next one that I wanted to touch base with you and share, I can't remember actually if I made any progress on this, so maybe I'll cut this section out. I am working on a Viking cardigan for my husband. It's patterned by Martin Story from 2012 from an old issue of Rowan magazine. It is not a size inclusive pattern. It is an older pattern, just letting you know. I did not know that when I set out to make this pattern, but this is the one that my husband picked out. And oh, it's kind of hard to see with this lighting. Oh, that's why, because I'm showing you the wrong side. There you go. You can see the texture a little better. It's almost like a patchwork in that there's boxes of a cable and boxes of stockinette that alternate. So it's got this really fun texture. I have finished the back panel, both front panels, and this is the first sleeve. Yay! And I honestly don't remember where I'm at. I think I have finished my increasing, maybe. I need to check back with the pattern and see where I am. I might want to put this on waste yarn and start another sleeve so that they can make sure to match row by row in length for the different sections of like increases versus like knitting straight, etc., etc. But I'm getting close. Once I finish the two sleeves, then I just need to do a collar around the whole cardigan and seam everything together. So I'm getting there. My husband's birthday is in August, so I'm gonna really try to have it finished by then. This was supposed to be a Christmas present that I started in December, so yeah, that wasn't gonna happen, and I realized it wasn't gonna happen, so I just like put it down for a couple months to work on other things. And it's not been my favorite thing to knit, probably because I'm a selfish knitter and I love knitting for myself, and it's a big project and it's in pieces, and it's a little bit of a slog, not in an unenjoyable way, but it's just been taking a long time, and I've just been doing it in small pieces. So hopefully I can get this done for my husband's birthday. He really doesn't know how close I am to finishing it, so that would be really fun to be able to finish it for him, just in time for the fall season. And for this yarn, I'm using Wool of the Andes worsted in the color Delft Heather. You can read that. I couldn't see it. Delft Heather. So it's this nice heathery dark blue. that my husband picked out that's actually really similar to the rowan color that was used in the original sample. It's been fun to like cross off the different skeins of yarn that I have. Since they are 50-gram skeins, they work up pretty quickly, and so it's been fun to kind of check those off the list and make some progress on this pattern. So another cast on that I mentioned last podcast that I really wanted to start, I started my Perfectionist Trap by Kasey Knits, and I've got a good chunk of it. Ta-da! This yarn is so pretty. This is Kimber's Cozy Creations in the colorway Unicorn Dreams 2.0. The two skeins are so pretty, but you can see, seeing them next to each other, they definitely are a little different because of the nature of hand-dyed yarn, so I have been alternating. They're so pretty. I love it. This yarn just makes me so happy every time I pull this project out, and it's nice because it's been a really simple knit, and so it's been easy to pick up and put down, just work on it here and there. I definitely like knocked out a lot of it like in just a couple sittings, but I've also worked on this for just 15 minutes at a time quite frequently too. I got little markers to mark my slip stitches, because even then I still sometimes forget to slip, and then I have to undo a row, go tink back in order to slip my stitches appropriately. But it's been really fun, easy texture. So yeah, I'm excited. The pattern calls for, I think, slightly more yarn than I have, like marginally, like maybe like 10 or 20 extra yards or something. So I didn't want to buy like a third skein necessarily. What I'm going to do is just use up all of this yarn that I've got, and then I'm gonna bind off as soon as I finish. That's the nice thing about this pattern, is the way it's written. I can just be done when I want to be done. So I'm just gonna use up this yarn, put it to good use, and make a shawl and see how big it gets. So I think it'll be pretty close to the intended size anyway. And I didn't measure my skeins beforehand, so they might have had a couple extra grams in them anyway. So I might make it exactly the same size, or it might be very slightly bigger. Who knows, but it'll be close enough that I think I'll get some good use out of it. I have another project using Kimber's yarn because I have a little bit in my stash, a handful of skeins, and I just was really feeling the colors. So I've got this other project going. Let me throw my half-finished object on a sock blocker. My last DK weight socks were so fast, such a fun time to knit, that I decided I wanted to do another pair of DK weight socks. And this is another pattern on my Make 23 and 2023 list. Oh, it's a little bit, I didn't block them yet, so that there's got some like creases and stuff in it. But this is the Blueberry Waffle sock pattern. You can see that texture. And honestly, it's way easier of a pattern than I thought it would be. It's basically like a broken rib. Sure, and it's a free pattern. I'll link it down below, but basically you knit for 2 rounds, and then on the next 2 rounds you knit 2 purl 2, and you just alternate. So super easy to knit, nice squishy texture. The pattern calls for 52 stitches. It's just a one size pattern. And I think that's so that the sock texture is parallel on either side. Next to the gusset, it starts off with 2 knits. And same thing on this side, 2 knits. My normal stitch count for a DK weight sock is 48 stitches, but I just followed the pattern as it was written because I was like, this is a ribbed sock. This is what their pattern is. They know what they're doing. It is a little bit loose on me, especially on the foot, because only half the sock is ribbed, the top half. And so it's definitely looser. And so when I take it off the blocker, you can see more. It's like a really short sock to compensate for the fact that it's looser, so that it stretches this way and it fits my foot a little bit better. I don't know if I can compare this to like my normal sock length. That totally, yeah, you can see. Yeah, it's very short compared to my normal sock length, but it worked. So I didn't want to rip out the whole thing and like redo everything, so I just like went with it. And these are big, cozy at-home socks, so I wasn't too bothered as long as they would fit and not like be falling off or like sliding off my foot or whatever. So I did a much shorter foot than I normally do. I have the second sock. I need to keep track of like how far I am because I'm getting kind of close to doing the heel. Oh, but this yarn, I said it was Kimber Cozy Creations, but the colorway is called Cup of Cheer, and it came with this really fun like bubblegum pink mini. So I really like this yarn. It was intended as like a midwinter, like a bright midwinter like color to help you, you know, get through the winter blues. But I think that the colors are also really fun for the springtime. I'm really feeling it right now. And I'm happy to have tried out this pattern, and I kind of want to modify it for other sizes, maybe try to make a pair of blueberry waffle socks for my daughter, maybe make a fingering weight pair, etc., etc. So the pattern is really simple and it's free, so I'll probably be playing around with it a little bit more because I like the idea of just like an easy texture. So not too hard to do. And I've been having fun knitting these. They also feel like they're taking a while, and I don't know why. I think I'm just, okay, I know why. I've been a little sick of knitting recently, and I think the reason, there's a couple reasons, but I think part of the reason is my 2 sock patterns I've been working ferociously on, and I'm a little burnt out because of that. And my daughter was sick, and so I had to stay home with her from daycare for a few days, and it felt like I couldn't do anything except like knit and sit and play with her. And so I like watched a lot of YouTube and knit a lot, and I just got tired of it. So I think that's it. But now getting back into the groove of things where I can do other things. She's back at daycare, thank goodness, feeling better, and I can do more things with my time. I can enjoy my knitting time more because it's not only knitting all day long, interspersed amidst like taking care of a toddler. So I think that's a little bit why these socks felt like they were taking a while, because I just was kind of sick of it. I was like over knitting. I was just like, I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing other things that I can't do right now because my toddler is sick at home. It's not fun having a sick toddler because you can't go to the library. You can't really go to the store as much. You know, like you just can't do all the things to get out of the house. So I was feeling really stir crazy, needing to do something different. Oh, and our stroller tire is flat. So we need to fix that. So we couldn't like get out of the house on like a good walk necessarily. Anyway, I'm just making excuses, but I'm hoping that now we're getting back into the routine of things. I can do other things with my time and feel productive and use my knitting to relax instead of like knitting being the only thing I can do because I am taking care of a sick toddler at home. I still have whips to share with you. Like, it keeps coming. I already told you about this pattern, but this is my next yarn cozy. It's on some tiny 9-inch circular needles, hence why it looks so small. But I'm using that rainbow color yarn from Daisy Stitch Co. and it's a little harder to see the texture. But instead of stacking all the twisted like mock cable stitches in the same column like they are in the original pattern, I am alternating. So on cable rows, I just alternate whether the cables go here or here, kind of switching back and forth. It'll be easier to see when this cozy is completed, but this has been fun as like just a little teeny tiny, very petite project to work on. And so it's slow going now, but I think it'll be fun to have matching ones. I'm planning on using the leftover of that like white speckled yarn to do the I-cord bind off for this. And so it'll just like coordinate and it'll be so cute. And maybe I'll make some mini ones out of any leftovers too. The 100-gram Cozy Lite by Knitty Natty takes like 20 grams of yarn is what she said, but I think my version only took like 11 grams or 12 grams or something. So I had plenty of yarn left over. I'll measure for sure and let you know next time how much yarn I used for these cozies, but it was less than what was estimated in the pattern, which I think is always a good practice. Like, it really stinks if you are expecting to use X amount of yarn and then when it comes down to it, you end up using a little bit more because you might not have that little bit more. But if you plan to have X amount of yarn and you use less of it, then it's all good, right? So it's just, you know, a little safety buffer, and Natalie definitely built that into her pattern in my experience with making the yarn cozies, and so it hasn't been a problem to like use up these little scraps of yarn to be able to work on them and make these yarn cozies. Okay, so I have a mystery knit along item to share with you. It is the More You Know by Sarah Shira. It's her knit along for June, and also part of my Make 23 and 2023 goals for this year was to participate in one of her Mystery Gnome knit alongs because I had been really enjoying them, and I missed the one in December. Like, I purchased it and I just like didn't start it. I have it like, okay, I have a little scarf, but I have all the yarn for it like all together and some needles too, like in a bag in my whip basket. I need to pull that out when I get a chance. I missed out on participating in that make along because life just got busy, so I really wanted to make time to do it this year. And June just like crept up on me. So I purchased the pattern a few weeks ago, and then I was like, oh, wait a second, I'm getting emails about this pattern. So I'm a little behind. I've completed clue number 2, and today is Monday, June 6th. And today they're releasing clue 4. So I'm a little bit behind, but I can definitely finish clue 3 today and hopefully take a look at clue 4 to kind of get caught up on that. But I will show you what I have so far. So if you do not want to see, head to the timestamp right here, and I'll link it down below so that you can move on to the next whips that I will have to share with you and have lots to talk about. Here is the mystery gnome knit along. Piece number 1. It kind of looks like a bow, like that you tie around this and then you have like the little ends. I honestly have no idea what this is. The pattern said it was mystery bit number 1, so literally not a clue. That's part of the fun of a mystery knit along, is you don't really know what's going on necessarily. You do a provisional cast on, you start knitting, you decrease, knit some more, increase, and knit some more. So it's a symmetrical piece, and these stitches are still live over here. I have them on waste yarn. So this is clue number 1, kind of a lot of knitting that took me a while. And then clue number 2 was the very start of maybe a nose, or it might be a nose. I think it's a nose. Anyway, so this is in the skin color that I chose. I just like increased the circle, and I looked at clue 3, and I'm going to knit around for a few rounds and do my decreasing. So I think this is the nose. But that would be my project today. Here are my 3 colors I should have shown at the very beginning. So I'm done showing my pieces if you want to come back. So here you go. I have color 1 is white. It'll be the skin color. I have this honey yellow color is my color 2, and this like rosy pink is my color 3. And again, these 2 are from Daisy Stitch Co. When I did these mystery packs, I got 3 50-gram skeins in a bundle, and I got 5 20-gram skeins in a bundle. They were all unlabeled, just mystery. I am like working through them now. I pulled them out for the All Together Now socks, and now I'm like, oh, I want to work with this. I want to work with this. I think they'll be really, really pretty together. So this is going to be a really fun gnome. I'm excited to see what is going on because it's all been a mystery, and it's just fun. I like being able to make something small, use up scraps, kind of play with color, try some new techniques out that I wouldn't necessarily like have forethought to choose like on my own, but it's been really fun. I've enjoyed the other gnomes I've made. I have my 2 gnomes back there. One of them is Make No Mistake, and I can't remember what the other one is called, but those are the 2 previous ones if you skip December's one. So both of those, I made those last year, and I had a lot of fun. So I'm happy to be doing it again this year. Excited to see kind of where this gnome is going. Okay, these are my biggest and most exciting whips. These are my newest pattern designs in the works, the Shark Bite Socks Crochet and Knit versions. So let me pull up knitting first. I have 1 sock completed, though I'm going to probably rip this sock out because I had to make some changes to the crochet version, and so they don't match exactly now. And so for the testing call, I kept it like it is, but I'm gonna add like a little bit more blue in between each stripe so that the stripes match up closer with my crochet sock, is the plan. So ta-da, this is the Shark Bite sock. So cute. I am really happy with it. I did a shorty sock, like a higher ankle sock, because I wanted it to match the crochet sock in looks. And crochet uses more yarn than knitting does. And so in order to use like your 100-gram skein and 20-gram mini, I did some careful yarn management. And so this was as tall as I could get my crochet sock. And this is the 2nd iteration. There's been much frogging and changing of the design, but this is the 2nd full sock I have completed. I already ripped out the 1st crochet sock because I have this one, and you'll see that it just doesn't quite match. The crochet sock is now a little bit taller, and so I'm going to change the knit sock, add a little bit more blue in each stripe so that they should match when I place them side by side. So you could theoretically make like 1 sock of each and wear them as a pair if you wanted to, which could be really fun. Shark Bite socks for Knitty Natty's Sock Week. It's got this in the knit design. It's got slip stitches, and in the crochet design, I used spike stitches to get a similar look. I'm really proud of how these turned out. It was a lot of work, but I'm really, really happy with it. These are both toe-up socks made with rounded toe. There's these little bits of colorwork stripes. Technically in the crochet, it's not color work at all. It's just like switching colors for different rounds. So you'll only use one color per round. For the knit sock, on the bottom row where you have this slip stitch, this red slip stitch, you do need to do color work. But on the other rows on top, just where you're knitting across, you do not need to do color work. It's just dropping your main color at the beginning of round and knitting with your contrast color. So there's minimal color work in these patterns, but definitely some color play going on. They both have a heel flap and gusset. You'll notice that the crochet one kind of like bulges out a little bit more. It has more room to make it easier to slip the sock on and off, because the way that crochet fabric stretches, it's harder to get a sock on because it doesn't stretch as wide. It stretches more lengthwise than width, compared to knitting stretches a lot more widthwise. That was intentional. And when it's on your foot, you don't see that like there's extra fabric there necessarily, but it definitely helps with getting the sock on. I'm really happy with it. The pattern currently is only going to be in adult sizes, but I plan to work on some Shark Bite mini socks eventually once I've recovered from this double test project going on, because it's just been a lot. Like, running a test group is a lot of energy. There's a lot of like management to be done, of organizing the people and responding to questions and concerns and helping people through the pattern, making updates to the pattern, fielding lots of attention. And so it can be kind of draining socially and mentally, and having 2 tests going at the same time is even more so. So I will be taking a break. Maybe for funsies, I'll just start working on some socks for Georgia, but like I do not want to think about the grading math to get them into a size for my toddler. Just don't. But I'm really excited about these socks. Like I said, the pattern is coming out on July 1st in preparation for Sock Week, so that you can make these cute Shark Bite socks for Sock Week. And especially for my crocheters out there, you can also have some crochet socks as part of Sock Week too. There are crochet patterns out there for socks, but they are definitely fewer and farther in between. And so I really love that I can showcase the same design elements in 2 different crafts. So super proud of myself to be able to accomplish that. I don't actually have that many acquisitions, but in looking at, I keep a list on my phone of all the orders I've placed to kind of keep track of things. It's been really helpful if I've like moved to know like, okay, who has my new address, who do I need to contact, etc., etc. So I have a running list of all the open orders I have that have not yet been delivered to my house. And there's a lot of yarn coming in June. And that's the thing with like pre-orders, is that you pay for them all at the same time, and a bunch of them come at the same time if their like windows are the same. And so this time I didn't necessarily place a lot of pre-orders at the same time, but I have like a couple smaller dyers that had like 4 to 6 week turnarounds that end in June, and I have a couple bigger dyers that end in June too with their like 12-week turnarounds. So I'm getting a lot of yarn in June, which I'm excited about. So this section is going to be a little bit shorter, but first and foremost, I want to share with you my colorways from Pearl and Postulates as part of Jessica's Real Women, Real STEM initiative. She works with women who work in STEM careers and develops colorways for them, and shares their STEM experience through these colorways, and like with a little card about it, to inspire women and young girls to pursue careers in the STEM fields. And so I was selected. It is such an honor. I'm so grateful. I'm an ICU nurse in a burn trauma ICU, and I feel like the medical field in general is like not viewed as part of STEM. Like, you think of like engineering and technology and, you know, computer stuff, and maybe even like research, like scientific research, but the medical field is part of STEM and it should be acknowledged as such. I use so much science in my day-to-day life, understanding the physiology of my patients, both what normal physiology is, and physiology is like how the body is functioning basically, but also the pathophysiology, or like when it's not functioning appropriately, like when someone has a really big burn, what is happening in their body, how are those different body systems interacting. And I'm really passionate about this stuff. That is very much STEM, that's very much science-based. We do some math even with calculating, specific for my patients, we do math to calculate based on the patient's level of burn size, as well as their own physical weight, their surface area. Like we use all those measurements to figure out how much fluid that patient needs to stay hydrated, since a burn can cause you to lose a lot of volume in your blood vessels. We use a lot of math. I use science all the time in understanding how medications work for my patients, in understanding like what's happening with my patients' vital signs, in like what's going on with their condition. So like it's very STEM based, and I feel like nursing is forgotten about a lot. Nursing isn't just about compassion and caring for them. You know, when you're having the worst day of your life and you're in the ER, like it's not just about giving you the bad news or being there to hold your hand or bringing you a sandwich because you haven't eaten all day. Like it's not just about that. Like that's a huge part of nursing, but it's a mentally and physically demanding profession where I get to care for my patients holistically in every way, physically, mentally, sometimes spiritually. I get to bolster my patients up and help them. I get to save lives in the moment and throughout the recovery, being able to support them physically and emotionally. It's really, really special being a nurse. I did not expect to cry. It's been like a sacred honor for me to use my love for the health sciences, for learning about the human body and my care for people, and to be able to infuse all of that together in the way that I care for my patients in a career that is always teaching me something. I get to share my love of learning to my patients and teaching them about what's happening with their bodies and how to better care for themselves. But also I get to learn every single day at my job and learn more about the complexities of the human body and how our cares are affecting that. I didn't always want to be a nurse, but nursing is really like the perfect job for me and for my strengths and what I enjoy. And it's really hard and it's really underappreciated, and there's a lack of legislature to help nursing and to help sustain this profession and to help sustain the health professions in general. There's lots of issues going on. We won't go there, but I love being a nurse. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a nurse and for also the other opportunities I can have because of my nursing education to seek further education, to teach future nurses, to care for patients at a higher level as an advanced practice nurse, to be able to improve quality in the care that we provide, either through companies creating products and running research, or through like hospital administrations. Like there's a lot of avenues I can take to improve like nursing and our care for patients as a whole. So like I'm excited to see where this career takes me in the future. All that to say, I was so grateful for the opportunity to be included in this initiative, because I feel like nursing's forgotten in the STEM world, and it's almost like downplayed. That like, oh, like you're just a nurse. Like you're not a doctor, you don't do research. Like no, like nursing is so hard, so underappreciated. A nurse sees things differently than doctors do, and a good nurse is so, so valuable. So all that to say, I was included in Jessica's initiative. Super long tangent, so sorry. But if you would love to share, I would love to hear. If you have any positive stories of how your life has been touched by a nurse or by someone in the medical field, then drop that down below, because I would love to hear your story. But for this initiative, it comes with a little card of me, some information about me, what I do for work, how I first got interested in what I do, which was like way back when I was doing like summer camps and stuff when I was younger. Like I always wanted to do the first aid stuff when they had like a first aid day, or like learning all that. I wanted to learn. I took first aid classes. Like I was always interested. I took an anatomy class in high school. What I think is special about nursing. So all that's there, which is really cool to be able to share with her. These colorways, This is called Registered Nurse, the main color. So pretty. This like, it's like a midway between like mint and sage maybe. Like it's not quite a mint green, it's a little bit different. And these beautiful speckles. It's so beautiful that I almost want to just keep it as is, but I also want to like knit it up. So I'm thinking I might try like a cabled sock pattern. Might be really fun to do with this. I have an idea in mind, so we'll see what ends up doing. And then this mini is one I got to name. It's this beautiful lavender, and I named it the Healer's Art. I'll probably cry again, so sorry. I named it the Healer's Art. The nursing school that I went to, it's like mission statement or something like that. Its vision was talking about learning the healer's art, the healer referring to Christ. And I did go to a Christian school, a Christian university. I love the experience of having my faith intertwined with my nursing practice and learning about the human body and how to be a nurse. Throughout nursing school, it definitely shaped the way I learned to be a nurse. And my spirituality is still like a significant portion of how I care for my patients now. And I strive to care for my patients as the master healer would. So that's still something that resonates with me in my nursing practice and how I try to care for my patients. The sock set is beautiful, but its meaning for me is even more so. This came out, I think, in April, so she has another one or two skeins out, so I'll definitely link her down below so you can check out the other Real Women Real STEM initiative like skeins and colorways that are available. And I think she even has previous colorways on her shop as well, so you can take a look there. But I think it's really, really cool to see what makes women get involved in the STEM fields and to support women. There are organizations that support girls looking towards careers in STEM that Jessica donates money from these sales to help out those organizations. So it's really cool that not only does it like raise some awareness, but also that some of the proceeds will be going to organizations that also help support girls and young women in pursuing STEM careers and being successful in those careers. Huge tangent. Sorry for the tears, but I'm a crier and this was really special. Moving on. Whew. I also got, the only other skein I got was Meza Makes. This is Color Sunday and the Colored Trinkets, and this was from her, I think, Joan collection, which was inspired by her grandmother and spending time with her grandparents. And so that is just like a really beautiful tribute to her family, very nostalgic. And this, when she revealed this colorway, she was like, this is like a more saturated version of the color Kate from her Shakespeare collection that she did. And I was like, that's literally the thoughts that I was thinking. I was like, ooh, that looks really similar to Kate, but like a little different. I had to buy it because I also bought Kate and I really enjoyed it. I do love me some pinks and purples and mauves, so that is right up my alley. I also got this beautiful stitch marker from Denim and Rain. And it was really like a happenstance that I even came upon this stitch marker. I just randomly saw someone post about it in their stories and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. And I went to her website and she was like, I'm releasing these tomorrow. And I was like, oh my gosh, like perfect timing. So I got this cute blue mushroom stitch marker. It's so adorable. I don't know if you've ever done this, but sometimes when you're doing like a pre-order sellout, especially for physical items that take a while to make, handmade things that like the maker has a capacity that they can do for the pre-order, and like once it's gone, like they just don't have the time to do more orders. So I was really panicking that like they would sell out of this pre-order. So I did Apple Pay on my phone to like buy it, and I didn't realize my Apple Pay address was like not current. And so as soon as I saw that, I'd already paid for it and I panicked and I had to like send an email. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but my address is not the same. Like, please update it. So thankfully it made it to me. The owner of Denim and Rain was really responsive and really easy to work with, and I'm very grateful for that. I felt so bad. I did not mean to like make her do more work to get me the stitch marker, but it came. So I'm very happy about that, it did not get lost in California somewhere where I lived previously. because it wasn't even my last address. It was like 2 addresses ago. So dumb. So I don't know if you've ever done that and you've like ordered something too fast and realized, wait, no, like that's not the right information. But I've done that, but I got it. So it all worked out okay. My last acquisition, and it smells so good, but this is from Stitchery & Co. They make soaps that you can use as wool wash, and I'm running out of the wool wash I had, so I thought that it was good timing to get some wool wash from Stitchery & Co. The color is called Sea Salt and Lily, and it's very fragrant. It smells so good. It's very florally, and this is also part of Sock Week by Knitty Natty. Stitchery & Co. is one of the sponsors, and so I made sure to get this. This is my first product. I've also ordered some yarn, and I think that's all that I ordered. Yeah, I think that's all that I ordered from Sock Week sponsorships. That's all that I ordered, but this came in the mail already, which is so exciting. So I should try it out next time I need to block something. But that's all I have for acquisitions. Honestly, not very much, to be honest. Next month, I think there'll be like an excess of things. In May was the first month this year where when I tracked my skeins coming into my life and skeins going out that I've used up, where I used up more skeins than I brought in to my stash. So proud of myself. I've just been keeping track. I've not been super focused on reducing my stash necessarily, but I do want to hopefully have like a net negative, kind of working through my yarn stash, doing the projects that I hope to do. Part of my Make 23 and 2023, almost all those patterns were using yarn I already had. So trying to use the yarn from my stash, and I feel like I've been doing an okay job. Not a great job. Having a job, making money, working full time means I have less time to knit and crochet, but more money to buy yarn. Not the best combination, but also like I haven't been like crazy at buying yarn. Really proud of myself for having a net negative in using my yarn last month. Hoping to do it again this month, but I think I have a lot of packages coming in soon, so we shall see. Okay, so life stuff and kind of what's going on with me. First and foremost, I wanted to share a couple upcoming projects I think I will have on the needles for next time. You can see better on this side. I just wound up this yarn. This is my Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn I'm going to use for the month of June. The color is called Wine Tasting. It's so delectable, even though I do not drink wine. But there's like yellows and pinks, and there's like even like a burgundy and black. So really fun colors. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to make. If I'm going to make one pair of socks or I'm going to make a couple shorty pairs. I don't know yet. We'll see. Maybe I'll make 2 pairs of shorties. I don't quite know. So this is going to be a project this month. I need to start soonish. I also just wound up the yarn that I want to use to make a Harlow hat. This is Coast to Coast Yarn Co. So pretty. The top color is called Polypore and the bottom color is called Earthen. It's from the Mushroom collection. I just think it'll be really fun to do some brioche, easy brioche with a hat. I have a brioche hat idea in my brain that like I wanted to make, and I couldn't find a pattern to be what I wanted. And so I'm thinking I might design it, but I want to get a little bit more comfortable with brioche. I haven't done brioche in a long time, so I want to do a little bit more brioche before I try tackling that kind of a pattern. So that's the plan for these, my Mushroom Harlow. And I haven't thought too much else. I mean, I've got a lot of whips on the needles, so it'll be nice to kind of like finish some things off. But what else? I feel like I want to make a summer top, but I don't have plans right now. So we shall see as far as like what I'm gonna make. But I am kind of in the mood to like cast on more, which is not good. I need to finish, especially because some of these things aren't like super tedious. Like a yarn cozy, that won't take very long. I should just finish that. I'm halfway through the second sock of this DK sock. I should just finish it, you know? So we'll see kind of how my making turns out. If you want to follow along, check me out on Instagram. You can kind of see the day-to-day of what I'm working on in my stories, and as I'm posting actual posts on there, so you can see what I'm actually working on, and you don't have to wait a whole month to see what happened in the month. My handle is Crochet Creations, so check me out there on Instagram. Like I said, my daughter was sick, just like a teeny fever, a little cold. Maybe it's because I'm a nurse, but like, I didn't even really need to give her Tylenol. Like, I gave her Tylenol a couple times over like 3 days. She really didn't need it. She was fine. She just like couldn't be at daycare and spread illness, which I totally understand, but it definitely threw a wrench in things. I'm grateful that she's back at daycare, and she loves daycare, so I'm sure she is really happy to be back there too with her friends. So that's kind of what's been going on with us. Still working. Last month felt really busy, and so my last video came out later than I hoped, but I'm hoping that I can get this video edited pretty quickly. Again, I am trying to balance the video editing with my 2 new sock patterns and working with my testers, so we'll kind of see how much I can get done. I don't know. I don't even know my schedule next week for work because I'm finishing my orientation. So I had like 2 buffer weeks that I don't have any shifts scheduled for, so that I could, you know, if I needed a little extra time for training, I could have it. So I don't know what I'll do next week for work or the week after. So hopefully like this shift schedule will work out in my favor and I can make everything fit into my life, okay, to be able to manage these patterns and manage editing this video. And I have a couple other videos that are like done filming that I need to finish editing. So I'm just feeling like I've got lots going on and I just need to like finish some things off so I can start some new things and like kind of have a fresh start. This is how I'm feeling. We've still been watching Fortune Fire. There's a lot of episodes on YouTube, which has been really nice. And my husband actually just bought a forge and he's prepping it. It's almost ready to use. So I don't really quite understand how it's all set up, but I know that he's like putting layers on the inside of the forge to kind of like help make it more heat resistant and kind of like keep some of the heat in, I think. And so he's done multiple layers of that, and I think he's just about ready to actually start forging soon, which is really exciting for him. He's been wanting to forge and he's kind of messed around with it a little bit, but this is the first time he's like bought his own little forge that he can use so he can really do the thing. So I'm excited for him and excited to see what he ends up making. I have my computer in front of me so that I can look at my list of what books I've been reading, since it's hard to remember the past month and just to kind of keep track of everything so that I can share a little bit with you about what I've been reading on and remembering what I started and what I finished. And I have a lot of things on here that I'm like, wait, I didn't finish that by the last podcast, so I do apologize if I am wrong and I did finish one of these books and I mentioned it again here. Oops. So sorry. But first book I finished was A Hex for Danger by Esme Addison, and this is like a cozy mystery with some paranormal mystical aspects. It's like living in the real world, but like people are actually mermaids or like have dragon DNA, but they are human-ish, so you don't realize, like they're kind of keep it hidden. So it's an interesting mix to the plot to add the like mystical like mermaids and dragons and whatnot. I liked the second book better than the first. The first felt very flat, very one-sided. The characters weren't very developed. Second book, I definitely saw more character development, which I liked, and I want to see more. It's still definitely like a cozy mystery, not like super high quality writing, but it's been all right. I've enjoyed it, and it's very easy to read. So I will definitely read more books in the series, but it's still a pretty new series, so there isn't anything else out right now. I really want to learn more about, there's a character named Dylan, and he sounds very attractive, so I want to learn more about what's going on with that, because there's definitely some romantic tension that has been interesting to read about. But only tension, nothing too crazy. So we'll see kind of where that goes. The next book is called I'm Not Charlotte Lucas by Kasey, Stockton. And this one, it was advertised to me as a retelling of Pride and Prejudice from Charlotte's perspective, but it's really not that. Like, it really isn't. There's a girl named Charlotte Lucas who loves Jane Austen and Pride and Prejudice, and she was feeling like her life was too much like the Charlotte Lucas in the book. You know, she felt kind of mediocre in a lot of ways, but then, you know, her life kind of takes a different path. I enjoyed the book. It was like a clean romance. It had some references to Pride and Prejudice. I was hoping for more parallels between like more literary parallels between Pride and Prejudice and this book. So it was a little bit lacking there for me, but it was a fun, easy read. In some ways, like the main character, like I just was rolling my eyes because just the way she was looking at the world was just like very tinged with like her own feelings of inadequacy. I don't know. It's kind of hard to read about characters that are like not confident in themselves. If I'm like, you can tell he likes you, just like go for it. But that's just me. Not my favorite like main character, and the love interest was like too perfect almost. But in general, I enjoyed it. It was just like an interesting storyline as far as like romances go. It was a little bit different than what I'd read before, so it was enjoyable. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I did if it was a longer read, but it like was really quick to listen to on the audiobook, and so it was very fast paced moving along for me. The next book that I finished is called Spare by Prince Harry. I mentioned this, I know, in my last podcast as well, but it's a longer book. And it just kind of dragged on a little bit for me because it is a longer book, and sometimes like just the unhappy things in memoirs are like not as compelling to read, or like as like you don't want to like rush through it. You know, you kind of gotta read a little, let it simmer a little bit. I enjoyed it. I felt like the writing was much better than I anticipated, probably because of the stereotypes that the press has jammed down our throats about who Prince Harry is. And, you know, me growing up hearing about his escapades or whatever and thinking that he's, you know, just kind of what he talks about in his book, that he's like the naughty kid, that he is the slacker at school, he's not smart, you know, things like that. So it caught me by surprise. The writing quality was really good, and I really enjoyed the transcendence of the themes throughout the book, in that, like, yeah, this is about Prince Harry's life, but it always came back to the press, between his mom and how the press affected his military tours and his ability to serve in the military, how it affected his relationship with other women and with his family members, with Meghan, now that she's in the picture. It was just really interesting. And I don't know, I've seen some criticism that people are like, well, this is what you signed up for, like, you're famous. But like, I don't think anyone deserves to have false accusations made or to be stalked by the paparazzi just to get like a photo, like to have your privacy invaded, that like literally everyone you've ever talked to or interacted with is now being grilled for information. It's just not normal. I never had like a great view of the paparazzi, but it just seems like there's just a lot going on. And ironically enough, Meghan and Harry were chased in New York City like the day after I finished reading this book. They were chased around in New York City by paparazzi. And it's just like, it's not ending. They're continuing to face like these invasions of privacy. They literally just want to live their life. Like, yeah, they've got more money and more connections and stuff, but that doesn't mean that someone should, I don't know. It just feels like basic human rights are being violated, and the complacency of, or the implicit like participation of like the palace's press is just kind of appalling. And granted, I know that this is one side of the story. We haven't really gotten clear what the other side of the story is because they haven't been sharing very much. So I know that there's some bias here, but also the way that Harry shares his experience and Meghan's experience, and it makes me inclined to believe them more, you know, to put more truth to their words in their experience. It's really interesting to hear about. Definitely opened my eyes, and I was already like team Harry and Meghan before, but it was just really interesting to read his experience, and it gave me more appreciation for maybe the simple life I have, and more compassion for the struggles that he and his loved ones have had to face as a result of their positions that maybe like they didn't ask for, and in the way that they've been treated. And also how culturally Britain and the United States are very different in like how they view royals too. So it was really interesting. It definitely taught me a lot and had me thinking about some things. So I definitely recommend it. Next book that I finished was Finlay, Donovan is Killing It by Elle, Cosimano. And I did share, I almost DNF'd this book. I shared last time. like the first like 15% or so, it was just like dragging on. The main character was making some stupid decisions. I didn't really connect with her, even though I'm a mom of a toddler. It just felt like she was like being kind of petty and also like did not have her priorities in line. And it was just like really hard to like get on board with her. But it was just like a really fun, crazy story. And it was just really interesting to see kind of where the story went. Definitely had to suspend my own disbelief to read it and enjoy it, but it was fun. I decided to read the second book. And again, it's been a little bit slow just because there's so many things that I cringe about. Or I'm like, why did you do that? I don't know. So you have to read it. But if you have read it, let me know if you felt the same way. Like, I'm having a hard time getting behind this main character because she's doing dumb things and she's like, oh, it's so hard to write my book. On top of all the murder and like investigation stuff going on, she's all like, I can't write my book. It's so hard. I've had like a month and now my editor wants my book. I'm having a hard time being sympathetic. But the story's been really interesting to kind of see where everything goes and how everything's tied together. And like the mystery of it has been a little interesting. So I'm still reading it. I think I'll probably read the third one because it was out recently. I might take a break before I read the third one because I think I'll be happier that I'm done reading it because it's giving me a lot of angst. But also I've been enjoying it. So I don't know, kind of 2 for 1, I guess. I also finished Rules at the School by the Sea by Jenny Colgan. I read the first book in the School by the Sea series, and I'm bummed to find out that there are going to be 4 books in the series. I just want it to be over with. I want the happy ending. I enjoyed the first book. It did not end how I hoped, and so when I finally got around to the second book, I was like looking forward to it, and then I realized, oh, there's 2 more books in the series, so this is going to go on longer. But the like love interest thing, it's just driving me bonkers, like to see the heroine, to see the main character like continue to make poor choices and to like settle than to choose their own happiness. I don't know. So again, I enjoyed reading about that book. I enjoyed reading the experiences of the kids that are at the school. I feel like the author really captured like what it's like to be in middle school. The different struggles that you have, the way you see the world. I think that the characterization of the different girls is really clear, but also really nuanced. As nuanced as middle schoolers can be. And so I've been really enjoying reading that, and I really want Maggie's love story to happen like she deserves, but like, I don't know. So giving me angst. I'm gonna wait before I read. The third book just recently came out, so I'm gonna read the third book, and then the fourth book will be out sometime, probably quick, because these books have been coming out in rapid succession. So hopefully the fourth book will come out pretty soon too. I can be done with that series and there can be a happy ending, because that's what I really want. I'm in the mood to read something that is just like a one and done. I don't need a series. I need some closure. So I have a whole stack of books that like are next on my list to read. So I'm trying not to have too many books going on at once. I have like 1 book on my Kindle, 1 physical book, and 1 audiobook to listen to in the car, just to kind of compartmentalize things a little bit. So I'm hoping to get through some books so I can move on to something that's a little bit less angsty and just makes me feel warm and fuzzy and has some good closure to it. So currently I'm reading the second book in the Finlay Donovan series as my audiobook. My physical book is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, and I'm enjoying this book. It has been the perfect book for right before bedtime, turning off my phone, pulling out a book and reading just a couple chapters. The vibes are immaculate for like right before bedtime. It's a really slow story, so I have not felt a need to like stay up late and read too much more than just a couple chapters. It's been slow moving. The plot is really cute. It's like a cozy fantasy series. It's moving really slow for me, and I feel like because the stakes are so low, it's not compelling me to like read faster. So like, I love being immersed in the world. I feel like this would be perfect for like a video game, like a Stardew Valley or, you know, something like that vibe. But for reading it, it's just felt kind of slow. So I'm only about 50 pages from the end. So I think I'm gonna try to finish it tonight so I can move on to a different book to read by my bedside. It's enjoyable. It's cute. I like the world building. It just felt really slow. I need something a little bit faster paced, I think, for my next book. And then on my Kindle, I've actually been reading while I've been biking. I have a stationary bike. That's been really good to like get me to read more, and yeah, I've just been able to get lost in the words easier than like in a YouTube video, and to just ignore like what my body's experiencing on the bike so that I can actually like go longer instead of thinking about how tired I am and how much I want to be done. So reading has kind of tricked my brain into biking for longer. I am rereading Emma by Jane Austen because I read that like I'm Not Charlotte Lucas book. It made me want to watch some Pride and Prejudice, read some Jane Austen, and like get immersed in that world, because it was just like not doing it for me. Like that book was like a little taste but not enough of what I wanted for Regency era. So I'm rereading Emma. It's a book I really like. I love the adaptation. I like the 2020 adaptation that they did. Just they captured like the whimsy and the satire of it really well. And now that I've, you know, seen that movie, rereading the book is so much more enjoyable because I am understanding more of how Jane Austen wrote it. I'm getting the flavor of the narrative better, and I'm capturing that whimsy and that satire more in how I'm rereading it now than when I first read it. And also I like understand more of how all the characters interact. Something with Jane Austen books that I've experienced, like my first read through is like there's so many characters, and like trying to figure out how it all like fits together, and like keeping track of people is a little hard. So now that I've like watched a movie about it, like I read the book when I was in college, and I really enjoyed the ending and whatnot, and it kind of pulled it all together for me. And then I've watched the movie a few times, the recent one, and now I'm rereading the book. I can just like understand more of like what's going on, and kind of like understand the characters better, and just like enjoy the book more than I did the first time I was reading it, and I was just trying to figure out what was going on. So that's been really fun to be rereading that. I don't know how far I am in it. I am rereading it in like I have like a Kindle bundle of like all of Jane Austen's works. It says there's like tons and tons of pages left in this book because Emma's like in the middle of the book. So I don't know how much longer I have to read of Emma, but I am to the point where we're in like December, and we're just about to the Christmas party, and where like Mr. Elton is gonna be like in the carriage alone with Emma. We're like almost to that point, maybe like a couple chapters. Just thinking about the movie, I want to watch the movie again because it's just so good. I'm definitely a Jane Austen fan. I want to read more of her stories. Thinking I might need to watch the movies first so that I have some context before reading, since that has seemed to help me on this reread of Emma, but we shall see. If you have any favorite adaptations of Jane Austen books, let me know down below, because I would love to get into that. I also have Austenland, the book. I've seen the movie, but I have the Austenland book in my TBR. It's one of the upcoming books I want to read. Maybe I'll read that after I finish Legends and Lattes. We'll see. I feel like I ramble a bit. I feel like my podcast always ends up longer than I think it will, but after a month of not talking to you, this is what you're getting. So thank you so much for being here, for chatting with me. That's honestly my favorite part about these podcasts, is being able to interact with you down below. So make sure to leave a comment if there's any projects you saw of mine or yarns that you saw that you are really enjoying seeing. If you have any projects that you're working on that you'd love to share with me, I would love to hear about it. And until next time, happy making. Bye!